We are going to start our corrections video with reviewing what the big idea was and just looking at the directions. A lot of people, I just don't think, read the directions and paid attention because it was so different from what was asked. So, for the big idea, how did the environment affect the lives of the early Native people of North America? To answer that question, you need to know what the environment was like, and then you need to know how their lives were changed because of the environment. The directions: choose 3 specific details about the environment. And this is what I said over and over and over again: climate, vegetation, natural features. So, what climate zones do they have? What type of vegetation? What landforms? What water forms? Those were always going to be on the left-hand side. And then another thing that some of my classes really missed is using the complete sentences. The second step was on the right. You will explain how the information affected how the group lived. Again, using complete sentences, but most people wrote complete sentences on that side. So the big thing is, how did the environment affect how they lived? So that means on the left side of the chart, there should only be environment. On the right side, should only deal with the Native people. This is the correction video for the plains. You will do your corrections on the lined piece of paper in 2 columns as you were told to set it up in class. So make sure that your information is all recorded. What I put on this chart should be on your paper. When we are looking at the plains, we are going to be looking at a student video and filling in the chart. So again, this chart should be what's on your paper in each column when you are all done. So since the question on the left, or the part on the left, is information about the environment, we're going to go to the plains slideshow and look for information about the environment. Climate, landforms, water forms, those are the key things or key pieces of information for all of the groups. So only environment goes here, and then how it affects the people on this side. So there should be no mention of food, no mention of clothing, no mention of anything like that on this side, because that's people. That all happens on this side. So I'm in a plains slideshow, and I'm looking at the climate slide. So it says here that the climate for the plains is humid continental with cold, snowy winters and hot, humid winters. So I think they messed up their information. So I think they mean hot, humid summers because they already have winters here. Enough precipitation falls to support prairie grasses and grains. The dry area does affect the plains. So we have some information to get us through. So now I'm going to go through the slideshow and look for information that would connect to the climate, something to do with the grasses and grains, to see what I can find to answer the effects part. The religious beliefs, I'm not seeing anything here. Teepees, the grass dance. So the grass dance could connect. Did they have on their climate? It supports prairie grasses and grains. So in their beliefs, they are talking about the grass dance. So that could be a possible connection. Let me keep looking. Most of the Native Americans were constantly on the move, traveling, didn't move at all. Here we go. Native men and women of the plains had different jobs. The men hunted buffalo. And it talks about how they shoot or how they kill the buffalo. They could set a ring of fire and stampede them off of cliffs. Clean the hides and use the buffalo tool. Corn, hunt buffalo for meat. And the hide for clothing. All right, so here we have a connection between the buffalo and the clothing, that they wore buffalo for clothing. So in order for the buffalo to live, the buffalo eat grass. So that's the connection that we are going to make. So when we go back to our climate, they have precipitation to support prairie grasses growing. the climate is humid continental. There is enough precipitation to support the growth of prairie grasses. Okay, and then I'll leave it there. Gonna make it a little bit smaller to fit in the box. Okay, so then the connection that we made to the prairie grasses was the buffalo. The buffalo ate the prairie grasses. There were thousands who lived on the prairies. They were killed by hunters. Okay, so they were killed by hunters, and in here it says that women would use the buffalo wool to weave. And what else did they do with the buffalo? They would eat the buffalo. The buffalo was a common meal for the Indians of the plains. Okay, so now I'm going to go on and I'm going to look for a second topic about environment and then looking for the details that support it. So going back, or we could keep the same one. Enough precipitation to grow. Actually, I saw their buildings. They lived in permanent, the earth lodges protected them from intense summer heat and bitter cold winters, which would connect to their climate also. So I'm actually going to use part of the climate information here. Oh, it's not going to let me paste. I'm going to start with the same. The climate is humid, continental. It has said summer heat, hot summers, and bitterly cold winters. All right, so then I'm going to connect that to their homes. They built the earth lodges to protect them. So these were permanent homes with earth on top. So permanent villages sometimes used earth lodges. These were permanent dome-shaped homes. These were dome-shaped homes with earth on the top. And we'll put it protected them from. This protected them from the heat of summer and cold of winter. And then it seems like the teepees also did the same. The teepees were cool in the summer and warm in the winter. and you can spell TP in multiple ways. This is the way I'm going to spell it this time. Were made from poles and covered in with buffalo hide. With buffalo hide. This would keep them cool in summer and warm in winter. So my emphasis this time was the climate, that they have hot summers, cold winters, and so I supported that, and these two house examples supported it perfectly. So I'm going to go and look for a third one, and I'm actually going to fill in the third one and then show you where I found it. For the last part, as I said, I already found it, and I put it in just to save some time. I actually copied the same climate information and just changed it a little bit from grasses to vegetation. And then I went to the presentation that I was using, and I found information. So it talked about them eating corn, squash, and beans, so that we know they have to farm. And it says that the sedentary tribes, which ones that didn't move, farmed. So that's the detail I added, that the climate supported the growth of crops. So because if it was too cold or if the soil wasn't good, they wouldn't be able to plant these things. So I put that the sedentary tribes farmed, and they ate corn, squash, and beans. There was additional information I could have added in, but for now, that is good enough. Hopefully you got how to pull out the details like I did. You are going to make sure you have all the information, and I mean all of the information. Put your name in the correct heading in the upper left-hand corner. Staple your corrections on the lined piece of paper to the top of the quiz I gave back to you, and then continue with the next assignment.